Real uplifting record. Debut play here on the Urban Fire Show for Saukrates and Say I. Before that, another piece of Toronto-based material, Saukrates, with Season 1. And you know what? We have our special guest live in the place. Welcome, Saukrates.
Hey, how you feeling, Jay?
I'm feeling great. A little bit flued up, but you don't want to hear about that. We spoke about that off mic, but I'm great.
That's all right. You seem to be doing pretty incredible from over here.
Mate.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, like I said, thank you for coming down right here on the south coast of the UK. I know that recently you've been in Malta. It's 40 degrees Celsius.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And you come over to the UK and you experience true English summertime weather. Wind, rain, the lot.
Well, today actually was surprisingly nice. You know, I kind of felt like I brought a little bit of the sunshine with me, some of that Ibiza sunshine with me. The sun was out and blazing, so I ain't had to wear my jacket. It feels like Toronto's really hot right now too, so like I say, I try to bring the sunshine with me everywhere we go, so there you have it.
That's well, we appreciate that. I mean, I know you've been all over the UK at the moment. There's a lot of work going on with you and the team behind the scenes, but
yes, sir.
Here on the south coast it has been raining terribly, so yeah, thanks for at least brightening things up a little bit, man.
Here we go.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now let's set the scene for some of the listeners. Musically for you started at a very young age, as a child, playing violin, things like that.
Yep.
At such a young age, what are your earliest memories musically, and what or who influenced you in that kind of area?
Well, you know, my parents really, to start, you know, my mother put me into violin lessons at 6 or 7 years old. Mm-hmm. Luckily enough, they were offered by the school, so we didn't have to pay, you know, the private lesson fees, which made it a lot easier. And because I started so early, once we moved to Toronto from a city called Edmonton, home of the Oilers, Wayne Gretzky, and that whole wonderful decade, I found that I had been playing for a lot longer than everybody else, so it was kind of a confidence boost for me on the violin. So I went on to play with all city orchestras, symphony orchestras, and that helped me to get some insight into a lot of the records I would listen to. You know, Curtis Mayfield, Isaac Hayes, Marvin Gaye, how these songs were created. It's a big production because you know I played for 100-piece orchestras, you know, on a daily basis at that time of my life. So the transition was easy into production, and you know when we had to make our own beats, me and Cardinal Official and you know the boys out of TO. When we had to teach ourselves, we kind of had a jump. At least I know I had a jump because of the classical training. You know, the rapping is a whole other thing. Where that gift came from is, you know, somewhere else. But I'm glad it all came together. I started real early. The first record I dropped, I dropped my first record when I was about, well, I won't even say my age, but let's just say it was 94 when I dropped my first record. That's when we still had vinyl. You know what I mean?
My era. Come on.
That's right. Okay, so we know we're on the same page. And that was a good thing, too, because we learned how to play the game independently, learn a lot about the game and how to get to this point where we're at now.
And this is the thing, as a teenager, you really adopted the can-do attitude, self-promoting, self-producing, self-funding, all those types of things. And still as a young adult, it led you to Juno Award nominations, which must have been an exciting period for you.
Oh, for sure. Juno Award nominations on that first single, winning Much Music Video Awards, winning, you know, Urban Top Producer Awards. The accolades always, you know, kind of let you know that people care a lot about what you're doing and they see you in a special light. So yeah, no, that's been great. Now we got to get some more. You know, I know when they hold the World Music Awards out in the UK, I've been there with Nelly Furtado and I got to see her accept an award, and I'm like, yeah, soon. I'll be there soon. We also got to see Michael Jackson accept the Lifetime Achievement Award before he passed. So, you know, there are a few more things on the list that we'd like to put another couple notches in the belt, you know?
Definitely. Now, we'll talk about Nelly Furtado and that work situation a little bit later on. Throughout your career, you've produced for and collaborated with a number of stellar artists. Some of my personal favourite artists, like Red, Meth, Nas, Xzibit, to name just a few.
Yes, sir.
Put you on the spot ever so slightly. Out of these kind of people, who was the most inspiring or interesting artist or producer to work alongside?
Well, you know what's interesting? I don't want to sound cliche, but they're all a blast, but they're different from each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're way different from each other. So, you know, being on the West Coast with Xzibit was a great connection, and working with a guy named Mike Karen, who was running an independent label called Sirius. He's now the head of A&R at Atlantic. Good friend of mine. He hooked us up after I'd met Xzibit to do that song, Keep It Moving. And that was a great experience in itself. Now, every time I go to L.A., me and X hang out. Now, I say it's different because when we hang out, we don't do no music. We play video games and eat steak and potatoes and just, you know, be laughing and telling jokes all day. Now, with Red is more like, you know, like my brother over time, where X is like my cousin. Like, so with Red being signed to Gilla House and to Def Jam, those years with him were great. But we're still family, and I'm still part of Gilla House. And, you know, we stayed literally at each other's house when we were in each other's city. But we spent a lot of time in the studio. So, you know, everyone is different in their own way. Method is different from everybody else. Him and I have in common that we're both Pisces. You know, it's been an interesting journey, to say the least. To sit in the studio with Nas and Salaam Remi, as well, as like surreal, you know.
We were just saying earlier when we played the records.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So, you know, to be that close to that level of mastery, you know, physically was just something that was so cool. I mean, you sit in there and you get the work done, you pay attention, and you spend all the hours needed. But, you know, I keep saying, like, almost every hour I go outside just to get some air and be like, okay, you got to talk to yourself. You know, do you know where you are?
Take that step back almost. And take it all in.
That's right.
Definitely. Now, when we talk about releases, you as an artist, obviously as a producer as well, following on from likes of Brookhouse, the Underground tapes, we're now approaching your new body of work.
Yes.
Which season 1, which you played a couple of records just before you came on mic.
Yes, sir.
So, in your own words, briefly, tell us about the album. What can your fans expect, and when is it going to drop?
Okay, well, this album, season 1, has been a long time coming, from being on the road and being busy and, you know, getting some perspective on how to finish this record off. And what I learned about growth as an artist, and how to expose that growth was the biggest challenge for me on this record, because my core fans do expect, like the last couple songs you play, that feel, that true to core hip hop feel,
that sound,
you know, that sound. But over the years, I've grown as an artist to be able to do more, as in, you know, singing my own hooks, or, you know, a bigger style and sound of production, you know, that can appease a larger room of people that aren't just hip-hop fans. You know, they're pop fans, rock fans. So I wanted to make sure I got that on the album as well. So I feel like I got a really good mix that can appease both sides of the line. You know what I mean? And not trying to cross over or anything, but we'll definitely take it, because the music does have the potential to hit more than just one crowd. And now we're praying that it does hit those people, but you will get the opportunity to check it out and, you know, make your own decision on whether or not it worked this fall. I'm told that it's September, maybe early October, we hit the US and the UK to start with the international release of season 1.
Well, we look forward to it, and it's nice to get a pretty solid kind of date when I normally ask about release dates.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Nice and evasive,
I wish I had a solid date myself. A couple parts are still in the works, and that's one really good reason why I'm here, is to collaborate and get a feel for a little more of what the UK would like to hear from me. The majority of it is done, which we brought for everybody to hear. But when it will be done, I would have had my finger even closer to the pulse of what's happening. So I'm told, you know, the 25th, the 17th, you know, we'll figure it out. I know it'll probably be on a Tuesday, sometime around there. So once we get the information, though, Jay Fresh, we will send it to you, and it would be great for you to share it with all your listeners, for sure.
Definitely, man. I mean, you touched on the evolution of your sound and yourself as an artist.
Yeah.
That's the same with every artist, every genre, every producer ever. You've got to soak up new influences, like you said about being in the studio with these people and those people. It does alter your input and the way your music is shaped and the sounds as well. So I know that one thing that I read recently about your forthcoming album is you're looking for records that will rock the car stereos.
Yeah.
As well as the clubs.
Yes.
Now, as a DJ, a lot of people perhaps don't understand that a record that could be a huge radio tune, or a huge tune outside of a club environment might not necessarily go over to be a club tune, and vice versa.
That's right.
So how do you make that happen?
Well, it's a fine line. There are certain, when you're talking to science and music, you're thinking of tempos and feels, but then you're also thinking, and that's a club, a tempo and feel. But then for the radio, you're also thinking interesting lyrics, interesting melodies, a catchiness, and if you can achieve those both, great. Now there's the third one. That I learned from doing a lot of touring is how to rock that arena or that stadium. And that's a big deal, especially when a lot of those arenas and stadiums are filled with people who don't necessarily speak English as their first language. How do you get them? Because they more understand the cadence than they do lyric for lyric. You know what I mean? And that becomes a part of the equation, too. So I kind of rack my brain a little bit and then just have fun with it and let it fly and hope that it works. And so far, so good on this record. I'm, achieving some good responses on how many different environments this music can exist in,
Yeah, definitely. Now, a little bit earlier on, you mentioned about the work Nelly Furtado. We know about the live tours, the work in Europe and such. Which artists or producers at the moment would you say are kind of impressing you or, getting your attention? And it's probably quite a long list, but you can condense it.
Well, actually, you know what? It's not that long of a list because I more indulge in old school music, from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s when I'm listening to the radio most of the time. So what's interesting and new is actually a part of what's old, like CeeLo Green. I'm so proud of where he's at right now. I take his career almost personally from falling in love with Goody Mob's music and the whole Dungeon Family and Outkast movement. And that he's finally got his shot to be on top of the world, you know what I mean, through his writing and performance, not only solo, but the Gnarls Barkley, and, fell in love with it. I would kill to see Outkast get back together and drop something in that same vein, all of them being cut from the same cloth. I'm actually a fan of people that a lot of others are fans of. I watched Kanye's rise, and I love his courage in its simplicity, in the pure hip hop that it is. I'm a fan of Hustler's music and motivational street music. So Jay-Z, these are the obvious choices, but for me, that's really the stuff I get into. Otherwise, I'm playing EPMD, Strictly Business, the whole album. Or I'm playing, Boogie Down Productions, Edutainment.
Foundation Records.
Oh, yeah, big time. But, there are a few out there now, and I can't name all of them, but, those are ones that I still get excited to check out the new material online whenever it leaks. You know what I mean?
Anyone from the UK?
Yes, actually. I did work with... I'll mention the guys that I've actually worked with just, online and getting stuff. I have a song called Wednesday that we had put out a couple years ago, which we want to actually resurface because I did a UK remix of it that featured Maestro and Loudmouth Melvin. And I thought they were incredible on it. It was my homie Omar that hooked up, Omar Jennings hooked up that whole connection. So that was cool to work on an underground level with that. But I've watched... like Omar, the artist, the soul singer, for years and years and years. A lot of my style actually is based off of listening to him and learning how to control my voice as well as he does. Big fan of Omar, big fan of Deneo. Deneo blows my mind every time, every track. I stay close to everything he does online because that man can rock the party for sure. So yeah, at least those two, and the list can go on, but I guess we only have so much time.
Some more questions to go through now. Whenever we have an interview, we like to put it over to Twitter. For me, it's at JFresh Official. Of course, for yourself, it's at Big Soxx, which is BIGSOXX.
Yeah, or BIGGSOXX. Yeah, 2 G's, 2 X's. Everybody out there at BIGGSOXX.
Now, we got quite a few questions that always come in. I can never take responsibility for the nature of these questions, you understand. This is a disclaimer. This is a verbal disclaimer I'm putting out there. It's clean, but I've got to put it in there.
Yeah, let it fly.
Okay, a couple of questions to run through. First off, from at Bavish Patel, saying, when relaxing, what kind of music do you listen to?
Oh, yeah, I get into... I actually get into a lot of classical. I like the Vivaldi, Four Seasons collection. I get into, jazz, Miles Davis, I get into John Holt, reggae artist. It's kind of an eclectic mixture. I love the Abbey Road album.
Real mix.
Oh yeah. I tend to stay away from what I've been living for so long in hip hop because my influences come from all different places. So when I'm relaxing, I get into that. So at Christmas, it's Nat King Cole. Down the line. When I'm relaxing, and my lady likes to play. What are some of her favorites? Did I already say Luther Vandross?
I see where you're going.
The slow jams and just relax, and she's got a super long list. So I kind of let the house pick when we getting down like that for sure.
Next question is from Stuart Weston saying, or at Stu Weston, has hip hop become all about the cash rather than the quality of the music? Slightly controversial question.
Yeah, you know what? The truth is, yes and no. Like for a lot of it is about the cash, whether you have it or not. A lot of artists feel like they have to act like they have it or know a lot about dealing with large sums of it, as part of their whole swag or swagger. Some of them do it really well, possibly because it's true, the amount of money they got. And so living that life is different from everybody else, and speaking about it is interesting when it's done well. But then the other side, like I said, there's so many levels of hip-hop today. It's not just a rapping cadence. So when I mention names like CeeLo Green or when Andre 3000 is singing, they don't go there. They go into situations of life and love, which I find just as exciting, if not more. I find Kanye West has a very good balance of showing how to floss out and be all iced out and materialistic, but then also be introverted and deal with your emotion and expose your weaker side. So the glass is always half full for me. Hip hop is in a great place. You can find and pick and choose what you like. There are options out there for sure.
Next question, just two more to go through. At Reese Beats saying, from what we've seen online with Frank Ocean today,
oh yeah, we were just talking about that.
Are artists subjected to unfair social pressures in how they're viewed in the public eye?
Yeah, and hip hop especially. It being street music and very based on a lot of machismo and male ego. It's not accepted as easily as it should be. So if it has happened in the past, it's been hidden and buried. In dealing with my opinion on Frank Ocean's situation, it don't matter to me. I'm a fan of his music, and that won't change. Just like I'm a fan of Elton John's music, that ain't gonna change. And I wish him the best going through this thing, because who knows? I mean, he hasn't even dealt with the situation himself. I mean, I think that a lot of people are just overreacting and looking for something else to gravitate to rather than just his music being amazing. So next question.
And the final one. You touched on it slightly earlier when you were talking about musical influences and what you listen to outside of the studio. A last question from at DavyC Music saying, is it still important for new artists or aspiring artists to educate themselves on the foundations of a scene? I know the answer to that, but I've got to put it forward.
I say yes. I think that's what you would say, Jay, is yes, for sure. I mean, not to be able to do it yourself, but to enjoy some of where it all came from.
It's essential, man. It's essential.
I believe so. I mean, hip hop being at times, most of the time, being a very sample based genre of music, that's because the guys who are sampling actually pick up the old records and listen to them and listen to where these rhythms were built that we're now reusing and recycling today. So for sure, I mean, it would be in your best interest to always kind of go back into the history of what you're enjoying, because you'll find some gems in there that will just blow your mind and help your perspective in the game when you're first getting in, for sure.
I'm glad you spoke about the sampling. I mean, it is without doubt a cornerstone, but it's so exciting when you find a record that's been, and you look back and it was sampled from something, that was sampled from something else, that was sampled from something else, and before you know it, it's like the light shining through a prism kind of thing. You're just seeing it in a slightly different way.
That's a good way of putting it, for sure.
And you can go all the way back and you think, and this, I thought that was the original, but no. There's 3 more versions of the record.
That's right,
before
man.
we get there.
It's a beautiful part of the music, and it was good to see how that part of hip-hop kind of flipped to where the original artist, even though I'll say this as a hip-hop artist, you don't want to put a sample out there and then have somebody come and sue you for it. That part of it can suck. But the truth is, the way that guys have been manipulating samples these days is you include that artist. So another great example is, I know the song Otis features Otis Redding in the credits. You know, so, you know, the original estate of that artist still gets a piece of the success. Shaka Khan on Kanye's Through the Wire. You know, they salute. You know, Jay had to pay $1 million for Hard Knock Life for the Annie sample, but you pay it before, pay it respect, and move on, you know. So there is a science to sampling these days because it's become a part of the business, but it's still a beautiful part of the business.
And it's like you said earlier on in the interview, if it's done the right way, and it's done with a little nod of respect.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
It's all sorted.
Yes, sir.
Now, listen, thanks so much for coming in, Saukrates. We appreciate you taking the time out, coming here, talking to us. It's been really interesting. One of those interviews that I just wish we could go on for another hour and a half, because I know we could just roll on and roll on.
Of course, you know, I see. Now I'm getting to know you, Jay. I'm getting to know you and getting to know what generation you're a part of, and seeing that you're still excited about things that are new. It would be great to come back, and that's why I just wanted to come and just get a little taste of what's going on and give you a little taste of what's going on, so that when I come back in the fall, we have a little more to talk about, a little more time, and even then, you know, I'll come back with a few of the fam, some of the band fam, and give you guys something special live right on the spot.
Wicked. Well, like I said, thanks for passing through. Don't forget the new album is due sometime September, October. That's as much confirmation as we're gonna get. Yeah. And don't forget, check out Saukrates online, keep up to date with the movements, the tour. I want to say thanks for Stucky for organising the interview, and thanks to all the crew for coming down tonight. And let's get into one final record that we've got from you before we say goodbye. Let's go to Before We Go right now here at Fire Radio.